Ukraine launched a drone attack on Russia, targeting air bases not just on Ukraine-Russia border, but also within the interiors of Russia. Hello and welcome to Drishti IS. My name is Saloni Nankulia, and today we're going to understand the technology used in this attack and how is this different from the traditional ways of fighting that we were used to earlier. So what has actually happened is that on 1st June 2025, in broad daylight, Ukraine launched an attack. It named that attack as Operation Spiderweb, and in that, 117 FPV drones or first-person view drones were used to attack on the military air bases in Russia. So how did these drones they get inside Russia is also very interesting. They were smuggled into Russia. So they were sneaked into wooden containers. These wooden containers were then loaded onto trucks, and these trucks were smuggled into Russia. They stayed there for a while. So they identified those bases. They stayed at the bases for a while. And when the time was right, these unmanned aerial vehicles, they were remotely operated by pilots. So when the time was right, they launched an attack on those air bases. So this is what happened, and they targeted bombers, missile carriers, and some important missile carriers were Tu-95, Tu-22M, and A-50 carrier. And Zelensky, so Ukraine's President Zelensky, he said that they had been planning this attack for 18 months. So this was a very well planned, well executed attack on Russia, and they are estimating they're estimating a damage of $7 billion. So this is not an official statement. Russia has not clarified it, but Ukraine is estimating that they have inflicted a damage of $7 billion on Russia by their 117 FPV drones or first-person view drones. So, and the another sophistication of this attack is that instead of restricting themselves to Russia-Ukraine border, which could have been an easier target, they also moved towards the interiors of Russia. So they moved 4,000 kilometers far east of Russia to target an airbase that was Belaya Air Base. So north of Mongolia, they moved 4,000 kilometers far east of Russia, highlighting the target, the specific precision that these drones had, which were used in this attack. And they also targeted something towards the north, an airbase which was known as Olenia. So they did not restrict themselves just to this region. They moved far north, far east, showcasing the technology that they had that was used in these drones. And what was that technology? That was FPV drones. FPV or first person view drones. So simply put, first person drones are the drones which will give me the perspective of first person, meaning I can see what the drone sees. So when I launch that drone, it goes into the landscape, the target area landscape. I can see whatever the drone sees. So it is giving me a first person view, hence the name FPV drones. So these drones are typically modified commercial drones. So initially, when these drones were launched, we all have seen these drones, right? Which are used in videography, in filming, and all the non-commercial purposes. They are easily available on Amazon, on Flipkart. So these drones are seen everywhere. So they were used for non-commercial, non-military purposes. But now in this attack, they were customized to be used as a military weapon, to be used on a commercial scale. So these were repurposed into something which is known as a loitering munition. They were repurposed as loitering munitions. Loitering munitions are those nuclear weapons. So these munitions or these warheads, they loiter upon their targets. So they hover over the target, and when the time is right, when the time is optimal, they attack on the target. So they are also unmanned aerial vehicles, and then when the time is right, the attack is launched. So these drones, once the nuclear warhead is attached to the drones, any form of a grenade or an explosive, once it is attached to the drone, it transforms into a loitering munition. And then these loitering munitions were used to attack the air bases in Russia. They provide operators with a real-time video feed, and this is the beauty of using FPV drones, that you get the first-person view and a real-time feed of what is happening in the landscape, so that you can make the most precise and targeted approach. So what is the advantage? It is cost effective to the extent that you can create an FPV drone with these warheads in somewhere close to 40 to 60K only. So this is nothing, this amount is nothing when compared to national security. This is highly cost effective. It is largely undetected. Why is it largely undetected? Because these drones, they are very small in size. These are small in size, and they loiter over, they fly very close to the terrain. So they do not fly in very high altitudes, they fly very close to the terrain. They are very small in size. It gets very difficult to detect them. And they also have something known as the radar signature. So they have a very small radar signature. Small radar signature means, so how do you actually identify if an aerial attack will be happening or you are not? So that is identified with the help of a radar. So through radar, the radio waves are sent, and when that hits the target, it is reflected back to the radar, and then we are able to identify that what would be the distance of the target, where is the target located, and then we can actually destroy it. But with these drones, because they are so small in size and they are made up of radar absorbing material, it gets very difficult to identify them, because instead of reflecting the radio waves, they either absorb the radio waves or they deflect the radio waves. So it does not really get back to the radar, and that is the reason it goes largely undetected. So they have a very small radar signature, which makes them stealthy, which makes them stealthy. And they are precise because they are giving you the first person view. So they are precise, they are targeted, they are versatile and scalable. So as we saw that FPVs can be scaled to loitering munitions, then depending upon the nature of your attack or nature or the scale of your attack or intensity, these drones can again be scaled to something else. So they're very scalable. They can be, by adding more components, you can just keep building more and more from them. They're scalable in nature. And the most important advantage is that they provide minimal risk to human life. So, in traditional wars, which are fought in the physical space on border areas, there is a lot of threat on soldier life and also of the civilian life. But by using these modern warfare technologies like FPV drones or drones in general, what are we doing? We are actually saving human life. We are not putting human life at risk. So, this can be operated remotely by remote pilots. They're sitting somewhere else, they're sitting in the comfort of their homes at a very safe space, and from there they can just send those signal attacks, and these attacks would be launched and the targets would be destroyed. So they provide very minimal risk to human life. And very briefly, if you look at the working of FPV, so they come with goggles, they come with screens. You will have the live feed of everything, or watching everything what the drone sees, and then you can make your decision. And these drones can be equipped by exclusive payloads. We discussed that FPVs can be upscaled to loitering munitions by adding nuclear warheads or explosives like grenades, nuclear explosives, and a reconnaissance drone has to be sent because so there is this limitation because they are very small in size, they have a limited range. So first a larger drone is sent, a reconnaissance drone is sent, and then that zeroes down, it goes into the target area, it zeroes down on the specific region which needs to be targeted. It doesn't really get into the exact area. It just gives a pan view. It zeroes down where our FPV drones need to be targeted, and then those FPV drones are actually launched into the exact space. So this is how those FPV drones work. But what are the limitations? There are some limitations because it is very small in size. It has a limited range. It can only go up to a couple of kilometers. And there are payload restrictions. Again, because it is very small in size, you cannot really have very big or very large warheads associated with them. So they'll be very small in size. They are vulnerable. They are vulnerable to detection by jammers. They are vulnerable to detection by electronic jammers. So these jammers have this capability of detecting if there's any drone in the airspace. But in Ukraine's case, something is being anticipated that Ukraine used signal enhancers, something known as signal enhancers, which allowed it to cancel out all the interference that was coming from electrical jammers. So this is something that the Ukraine is asserting that we used signal jammers. We use signal enhancers or signal which were really enhancing the signals coming out from the drone and cancelling the interference coming from the electrical jammers. But in a nutshell, all in all, they are vulnerable to electric detectability or electronic jammers. And of course, there is weather dependence. If the weather is not right, it will be difficult to maneuver those drones, and they will not be able to fly with precise precision and accuracy there. So these are some limitations. But other than Ukraine, everybody actually, so these drones, they are a form of modern warfare. And not just drones, there are a couple of other modern warfare techniques also in use right now, like cyber war or psychological war or even space war, satellite war. So these are all wars that are different from the traditional war, meaning that they are not being fought on physical spaces of land, air, and sea. We have expanded our domains. We are entering almost every domain and launching attacks from all sides. So these are different forms of modern warfare in use, and drone war is one of them. So not just Ukraine, globally drones are being used for this purpose. Like Israel has kamikaze drones. So kamikaze drone is a special type of drone, or which is also known as suicide drone. So suicide drones, what do they do? When they hit the target, they destroy themselves. So they destroy the target and they also destroy themselves. So Israel came up with this concept. It has kamikaze drones or suicide drones and also Harop drones. And Iran also has something similar, which is known as Shahid drones. But what does India have in the drone technology? So right now, India's drone capability or India's drone technology is evolving. We are also investing in drone technology. The government of India has come up with a lot of rules, a lot of schemes in this technology, in this direction. So, for example, India has drone rules 2021. So in this, like, we have banned all forms of import of military drones from outside. We are going to focus on indigenous drone formation only. We have eased down on the regulations and the permissions and the licensing required for loans for drones. So we have eased out our procedures for granting licenses for drones. We've come up with some schemes like PLI scheme for drones. In PLI schemes, we are incentivizing indigenous formation or indigenous manufacturing of drones. People who are manufacturing them, we're giving them incentives. We've also come up with something known as Drone Shakti scheme, where we're using drones for agricultural purposes. Digital Sky platform, no permission, no takeoff framework. So Digital Sky platform also, we are using drones in the digital airspace, and we are providing pilot licensing, remote pilot licensing, and general licensing to drones. So India is also evolving in this direction. As of now, we are focused more towards indigenous drone formation so that we can reduce our dependence. This is a matter of national defense. We can reduce our dependence on outside world, outside nations, and focus more on make in India, in DRDO, indigenization of manufacturing of all these drones. So this is what India is doing right now. The drones that we use in defense, they are used for surveillance, search and rescue, maritime surveillance, combat drones, counter-terrorism operations, and generally, other than defense, drones are also used in non-defense or civilian purposes, like in mapping and surveying, in agriculture, emergency response, disaster response, monitoring, and meteorology, weather forecasts, and everything. So drones in India are used in commercial spaces and also in military spaces. Military spaces, we have surveillance, search and rescue, and maritime surveillance right now, not of complete, because we follow a no first use policy. So we are not completely into using military drones going and attacking other countries. We don't do that, but we use it for surveillance and resilience purposes. But it is an evolving field, and in the coming time, we are only going to see more of drone technology in India. But all this shows that there is a shift in the global geopolitics, because we are moving from traditional space, traditional warfare, to modern or contemporary warfare. And also, China is actually again an important player here, because China has the maximum number of drones, or it is very strong in drone technology. It's very strong in the semiconductor industry. It is very strong in the drone technology. So a lot of countries, it has kind of established its dominance or assertion in the region, that countries will now be more dependent, or they will want to be, in allies, as an ally or in the good books of China, so that they can import these things from China. So they can import the semiconductors required to operate in these, or in the manufacturing of the drones, or in for importing drone components, drone constituents in general. So China is a very important player here, And this shows us that there's an increasing dependence on China for drones and semiconductors. And all in all, the global geopolitics is changing because we have some important players in this direction. That is all for today's video. Let's quickly summarize what we learned. That we are using drones for war. It is a form of modern and a contemporary war, not just drone war. It is a form of it is one of the many other different contemporary warfare that we're moving towards. And what we used right now, so what Ukraine used was FPVs, and this makes a strategic shift because FPVs have now been used on a commercial and a military scale versus what they were originally designed for. It was for non-defense purposes. And India's drone technology is expanding with Drone Rules 2021, Drone Shakti scheme, PLI schemes for drones, etc. So we are right now evolving and building ourselves in this domain. Now let's practice some questions, one for prelim and one for mains. So with respect to FPVs or first-person view drones, consider the following statements. FPV drones are exclusively military-grade equipment developed for defense use. These drones provide real-time video feed to the operator. FPV drones are typically long-range and designed to fly above 30,000 feet. Which of the above statements are correct? 1 and 2, 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. So please read these statements carefully and provide your answers in the comment section. Also, practice one question for mains in 250 words. Examine the role of first-person view drones in modern conflicts. What are their operational advantages and limitations? Discuss their potential impact on India's security and defense preparedness. So thank you for watching the video. Until we meet the next time, please keep studying and keep revising.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.